This is Scott Becker with the Becker Private Equity and Business Podcast. And for those of you that know me, we're constantly looking for sparks and excitement and to cultivate the passion, cultivate the drive, motivation, and so forth. So one of the books we've recently read is something along the lines of 100 Ideas on Motivation. And in that book, there's a great suggestion to reading one of the Napoleon Hill books. Anybody who's a lifelong learner or motivation learner is familiar with Napoleon Hill. One of the books he has is Mastering the Key to Riches, which is less about money and more about motivation. But one of the core concepts, and that's the topic of this podcast, and the title of this podcast, Go the Extra Mile. And so the concept here in the podcast, one of the great chapters in the book, Mastering the Key to Riches by Napoleon Hill, is to go the extra mile, that the huge results go to those that put in a little bit more effort. And it's got to be thoughtful effort. It's almost got to be coached effort. But those that try a little bit harder to deliver for customers, those that try a little bit harder to deliver for whoever they're trying to deliver for, end up getting the massive amount of gains that are out there. It's no surprise that the huge percentage of the results in this country, the economic riches, go to that 10, 20%, the old 80-20 rule, 10, 20% really clean up. But what I would say, and again, you know, there's obviously, I'll avoid the discussions of privilege and all those kinds of things, but largely, if you end up being hyper successful at something, at some point in your life, you've gone that extra mile, you've put in a different level of effort, you've done something different than ordinary to get there. And this concept of go the extra mile in everything you do, whether it's in tennis practice and trying a little bit harder to work on the net game or your overheads or your serve, whatever it might be, whether it's in business, trying a little bit harder to do things extra special for a customer or client, wherever it might be, this concept, this motivation concept of going the extra mile, we think is so important. It's something to be present in your life every single day. We see it in so many of the magnificent people that we work with that constantly go the extra mile in what they do. It's inspiring to watch. It's amazing to watch. It's awesome to watch. But it's also a critical factor to long-term success. So today's podcast, Go the Extra Mile. We love it. It's a Napoleon Hill concept, so I won't take credit for it, but we will glob onto it. Thank you for listening to the Becker Private Equity and Business Podcast. If you're the first person to listen to this all the way through and you've not claimed a gift certificate lately, go ahead and text me at 773-766-5322, and we'll send you a $100 Amazon gift certificate. Thank you for listening to the Becker Private Equity and Business Podcast, and thank you to the wonderful team at Executive Podcast Solutions, Jeremy Core, Chanel Bunger, Kate Cruz, Gracelyn Keller. What a magnificent team of leaders. Thank you so much for your help.